Pilipinas.
Sayang magiliw, reyes ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lumang hinirang, duyan ka ng pag-ibig, sa manlulupig, di ka masisingin. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mo ikaw, may tinatang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang bisag ng wataran mo'y ganun ay narating, ang bituin na parang niyang kailan ka may di maghihiling. Lumanang araw ng walang ibang sinang, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming di kaya ng pagkay ng langit, namamatay lang dahil sa'yo.
Today, in the world where life is born, there's a struggle that is fought to be welcomed, to be cared for, to be at home. Today, when our life seems bought and used, there's a struggle to belong, to be free and to be a gift to everyone. We call our families, rise up and raise your hands as one. Come show the world the love that binds all God's children into one. We call our families, share the treasure that's in your hands. What can save us now? What can lead us now? What can make us all be one? Only selfless love. Jesus showed the world that only selfless love can bring 100-fold of fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, homes, where peace and mercy reign, where faith and hope remain, where life begins and ends in God's embrace. Calling all families, let's make it happen through only selfless love. Like the Holy Family with Jesus, Joseph, and Mary, home is where true love begins. Love rejoices, love embraces. We call all families, rise up and raise your hands as one. Come show the world the love that binds all God's children into one. We call all families, share the treasure that's in your hands. What can save us now? What can lead us now? What can make us all be one? Only selfless love. Jesus showed the world that only selfless love can bring 100-fold
Syukaman, Pangasinan, luyang hinatyawan. Makes us all proud to be one. Make the difference is our stand. Empower our dearest land. In our heart is a delight to make our children's future bright. Together for the dreams we fight. As each holds faith to God so tight. It's still one. Still one, you are the one. Anchor of every child's journey, maker of bright destiny. Embrace culture and dignity, work with goodwill and harmony. Honesty and sincerity, serve with pride and unity. One Pangasinan, public service at its finest, right there to bring out the best and stand out among the rest. Share kindness for the nature that our children will treasure, where they live a brighter future and make our dreams and nurture. Still one Pangasinan, it's still one, you are the one. Anchor of every child's journey, maker of bright destiny. Embrace culture and dignity, work with goodwill and harmony. Honesty and sincerity, serve with pride and unity. There's still one Pangasinan, there's still one, you are the one. Anchor of every child's journey, maker of bright destiny. Embrace culture and dignity, work with goodwill and harmony. Honesty and sincerity, serve with pride and unity.
Isang mainit na pagbati sa mga pinakatatanging graduates at completers sa school year 2019-2020. Ako ay lubos na natutuwa at nagagalag na matagumpay ninyong narating ang puntong ito ng inyong pagkatuto. Ako ay higit na natutuwa kasama ng inyong mga magulang, mga guro at ang buong komunidad na inyong kinabibilangan sa mapagwaging pagsalubong sa bagong bukas na may kalakip na hamong mas pagbutihin pa ang pagsulong at pagsuong sa buhay. Sa tema sa taong ito, sulong edukalidad, pagtataguyod sa kinabukasan ng bayan. Tayo ay sabay nahahayo at susulong upang maisakatuparan ang pangarap ng bawat isa na maitaguyod ang magandang bukas at makamit ang layunin para sa sarili, para sa komunidad at para sa bayan. Sa panahong ito na tayo ay nahaharap sa malawakang pandemiko na nagbigay takot at bumalot sa mundo ng sakit, huwag nating kalimutang maging positibo, produktibo at proaktibo upang maipagpatuloy ang ating magandang nasimulan sa ating paaralan. Maging resourceful din tayo sa patuloy na paglago ng ating kaalaman. Gamit ang napakaraming pamamaraang maaari nating magamit. Sa ating mga completers at graduates, magkaroon tayo ng matibay na sandigan at paniniwala na magkakaroon tayo ng mas maayos, mas malusog, at mas matibay na bukas na naghihintay sa atin, hindi man tayo sigurado sa kung ano ang hatid ng bukas sa atin. Maging mas matibay sana ang paniniwala natin sa mas maliwanag na bukas. Tulad nga ng winika ng ating mahal na Pangulo Rodrigo Duterte, mahirap ang ating kakaharapin at tatahakin. Pero magtulungan at magkaisa tayong muli. Kasama ang bawat isa, magkapit-bisig at magkapit-balikan, nating tahakin ang daan tungo sa magandang kinabukasan ng ating mahal na bayan. 10 ng buong pampaaralang tanggapan ng Sangay 1 ng Pangasinan, patuloy nating suportahan ang sulong edukalidad. Ipagpatuloy natin ang kultura ng karangalan, kagalingan at kahusayan. Patuloy na ikalat ang mga buto ng dekalidad na edukasyon. Mabuhay ang batch 2020.
Dr. Liani Bibuston, our Public Schools District Supervisor, Madam, I am proud to present to you the 19 strong candidates for graduation, of which 11 are male and 8 are female, and with the strong recommendation of their advisor that they have satisfactorily completed and complied all the minimum requirements prescribed by the Department of Education under the K-12 curriculum. These candidates are now ready for your confirmation.
By the authority of the school's division superintendent and acting upon the recommendation of your principal, that you have successfully completed all the requirements as prescribed by the Department of Education for elementary, I, Lian B. Boston Public Schools District Supervisor, hereby confirm your graduation rights and declare you graduates in elementary. This first day of June 2020, I therefore confer upon you all the rights and privileges thereto appertaining. Congratulations!
The graduates of school year 2019-2020.
Abukay Marian A. with high honors, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jose B. Abukay. Sabado Angela L. with honors, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Manuel B. Sabado. Balonzo Roland V. with honors, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ruel B. Balonzo. Bernardes Dustin Rain D. with honors, son of Mr. and Mrs. Joey E. Bernardes. Buay Joner S., son of Mr. and Mrs. Joel A. Buay. Carizal John Raymark B., son of Mr. and Mrs. Resty B. Carizal. Tiguzman Ronaldo Z., son of Mr. and Mrs. Roberto B. Tiguzman. Flaminiano Clarence O., son of Mr. and Mrs. Cesar A. Flaminiano. Gamalong Jomar Ray A., son of Mr. and Mrs. Pablo A. Gamalong Jr. May between Jazz Vart C., son of Mr. and Mrs. Domingo E. May between Jr. Patricio John J. Lord B., son of Mr. and Mrs. Philip D. Patricio. Ramos Mark Anthony B., son of Mrs. Marites L. Bagobe. Rodolfo DJ B., son of Mr. and Mrs. Bernard B. Rodolfo. Bolling Paula L., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ariel A. Bolling. Bustamante Joanne B., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. J.R. C. Bustamante. Carizal Jasmine B., daughter of Mrs. Marilyn B. Carizal. Colcol Karen C., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Rogel P. Colcol. Initial Ellen Joy B., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Elizalde A. Initial. Necesito Christine B., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Terso B. Necesito.
Congratulations, graduates.
Kindergarten completers, school year 2019-2020. Alcantara Maynard B., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Helmer F. Alcantara. Baingco John Kevin M., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Richard C. Baingco. Bona Lionel D., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Leo F. Bona. Bonode Mark B., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Henaro B. Bonode. Cabana Aris B., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Almar B. Cabana. Gamboa John Ray C., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Morris G. Gamboa. Malines Prince J.R., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jovito P. Malines Jr. Marzan Aldrin R., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Arvin E. Marzan. Ramos Curvy C., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jomar B. Ramos. Baingco John Kevin M., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Richard C. Baingco. Bruto Dylan Kien B., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ronnie B. Bruto. Bustamante Joy B., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. J.R. C. Bustamante. Calagno Ariana May B., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ernesto D. Calagno. Enciso Zylene Izel M., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Dylan Roy Enciso. Magrata Mary Rose B., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ricardo A. Magrata. May between Leah R., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ephraim B. May between. Ramos Nashame B., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ryan B. Ramos. Reyes Irish C., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ricardo C. Reyes. Rodolfo Veronica G., proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Erickson C. Rodolfo. Academic Excellence Awardees. Grade 1, under the advisory of Mrs. Catherine G. Bonalos. With honors, Rizame A. Nonat, parent, Mr. and Mrs. Roel B. Nonat. Rizame C. Rabanal, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Joseph S. Rabanal. Jennifer Clyde M. Cabalquinto, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Walter M. Cabalquinto. Jasper B. Porton, parents, Mrs. Tenny A. Bungay. AJ T. Carizal, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Julmar Carizal. Lian Eunice M. Enciso, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Dylan Roy I. Enciso. Ashley Cole Bagobe, parents, Mrs. Marinel Bagobe. Academic Excellence Awardees, Grade 2, under the advisory of Mrs. Digna B. Benitez, with honors. Kyla D. Buna, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Leo F. Buna. Jonard L. Cabanilla, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jomar O. Cabanilla. Kate Elijah C. Rabanal, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Joseph S. Rabanal. Jade Christia T. Atiga, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Chodoro B. Atiga. Carl Luis L. Valente, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Albert D. Valente. Lian Ray C. Piao, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ryan T. Piao. Justin Ian J. Tesoro, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jomar D. Tesoro. Academic Excellence Awardees, Grade 3, under the advisory of Mrs. Lorna N. Reyes. With honors, Janeline O. Esposo, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Richard Esposo. Prince Mark P. Carizal, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Alfredo Carizal. Grace C. Colcol, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Rohel Colcol. Zyljan Edgar M. Enciso, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Dylan Roy Enciso. Angela M. Ramos, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Armando Ramos Sr. Academic Excellence Awardees, Grade 4, under the advisory of Mrs. Teresa B. Espanyol. With honors, Kyla R. Maybetween, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ephraim B. Maybetween. Jasmine Laika D. Colorado, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Felipe C. Colorado Jr. Angelo L. Sabado, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Manuel B. Sabado. Gerald C. Cuentes, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Rodel B. Cuentes. Ashley C. Maybetween, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Domingo E. Maybetween. Academic Excellence Awardees, Grade 5, under the advisory of Mrs. Lolita B. Tamundong. With honors, Chloe Nicole B. Lat, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Roland P. Lat. Princess May P. Carizal, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Alfredo Carizal. Merwin M. Falaria, parents, Mrs. Erlinda Maybetween. Giselle L. Cabanilla, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jomar O. Cabanilla. Joanne Grace R. Dar, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Sunny Dar. Princess May B. Aglipay, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Junelle Aglipay.
After all those days of wondering if we would make it to the end, finally, here we are at this very moment that marks of our journey. Graduating class of 2019-2020, please join me in welcoming our guests. To our Municipal Mayor, Honorable Ronald G. Ngayawan, to our Barangay Captain, Honorable Jordan B. Bonode, to our Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Sheila Marie A. Primicias, to our Assistant Schools Division Superintendents, Dr. Theodora B. Nabor and Dr. Marilu N. Cardenas, to our Public Schools District Supervisor, Dr. Liani B. Boston, to our Principal, Madam Evangeline P. Nazareno, the management team, school officials, honored guests, dedicated teachers, beloved parents, and fellow graduates, a pleasant morning to all of you. On behalf of every student here, I would like to express my sincerest gratitude to all the teachers and mentors we've had in life. You are the candles that light the way. Thank you for using your precious time and wisdom for us. You have taught us and still are teaching us to achieve excellence. You help us on our way to success. I believe that we're a much better person now that we would have been had we not met all of you. I would also like to thank all the parents of your endless support and patience for all of us. You have lovingly cared for us all these years and set the foundation for our future. There are not enough words to express how thankful all of us are. I am also taking this opportunity to thank the special people who have made my achievements possible. I might not be able to mention all of you by name, but now that I am a millionfold times grateful to everyone who has put me on this stage. To my advisor, Mrs. Christina, I am so grateful of your honesty, sincerity, and giving your best to us. Thank you to my DMES teacher. Thank you for being so understanding to all your students. It's like we're your children. Not just all these names mentioned. I would like to thank every single teacher for changing lives and helping me learn more. You have instilled love of learning in me. You have helped me grow and guided me, and I'm sure many other people too. To all my friends, classmates or not, thank you very much. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you for having me back all the time. You guys made me feel that I have a big, wonderful family. A great thank you from my heart to my parents, to my wonderful, beautiful mother, Rosemary Abukay, for all the immeasurable love, care, and time, effort, and discipline you are providing and building for me. Without you, Mom, I could not make high honors possible. I hope I made you happy today. Thank you so much for putting up with my antics, for your patience, and for waking me up each morning and preparing all the things I need. To my Papa Jose B. Abukay, thank you so much, Pa, for the love, care, support, and sacrifices to give what our needs. Maraming salamat po, Papa. I'm greatly honored to stand before all of you today of Class 2020, not only because of the awards that I have received, but because I'm also part an amazing batch, a batch that has achieved so much, a batch with so many different personalities and talented people, maybe in big ways and maybe in little. Some people think that getting the highest award is so far beyond their dreams. Fear it can be wisdom or it can be an obstacle. I say, march through the years with courage driven by your passions. Each one of us here is born with the potential, the spark waiting to be ignited to achieve. It will be a confusing and bumpy road, but huge on warrior. Every great hero starts with a small spark. Achievements do not have to be grandeur. But what matters is that you're fighting for something worth fighting for. No matter how small the difference, you are making way one step closer to success. Don't let anyone ruin your dreams. Remember that even if it is hard to see in the minds of truth and confusion, the only thing stopping you is yourself. My fellow graduates, go for it. With that, I want to honestly hope we will all keep in touch. But sadly, it sometimes does not work on that way. After today, we are stepping out into the world where we won't always have second chances. Thank you and have a wonderful morning.
Pledge of the Graduates. We, the graduates of Don Matias Elementary School, do hereby solemnly declare that we will remain loyal to my alma mater. We will exhibit the core values advocated by our school and the Department of Education. maka-Diyos, makabayan, makatao, at makabansa. We pledge to our best that whatever we do and wherever we go, we shall faithfully uphold the best of our abilities and the ideas for which the Don Matias Elementary School is stand: loyalty, cooperation, good fellowship, and good citizenship. Utilize my education in serving my family, the country, and God.
Nandito ako dahil sa'yo. Hindi ko alam kung kakayanin kung hindi kita kasama. Sa aking paglipad, ikaw ang hangin na dala sa akin sa mga bituin. Pangarap ko ay ang pangarap mo, iaalay sa'yo. Siyang unang nagbigay ng tiwala, pagmamahal na walang kapalit. Nang dahil sa'yo'y mabubuo ang pangarap ko, pangarap mo. Nagtiwala kang kakayanin